Hello and welcome to Chapter 69 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me, as always, is Fanboy Clay. Clay, how are you doing this evening?
Not too bad. I had those days where it's like it's not the worst day, but there's just minor annoyances that's just like, man, this day could be so much better if this didn't happen. You
Yeah,
know?
oh yeah, those happen
Had
too often.
had one of those days today at work, and then like to make it worse, like I usually have class right before recording, and for the past like two sessions at school, the professor has just been like, "Hey, nothing works, so let's hang out. I'm gonna tell dad jokes," and I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna leave the session right now and just watch the archive when it's most important." So that just irked me a little bit, but I was able to get all of my reading done. I was able to watch every show that we are going to be reviewing tonight. The only thing I wasn't able to do was read all the news. Now I was able to see all the headlines. I wasn't able to get all the details. So Heinz, you were going to be the one leading the charge tonight.
Yes, coming back off of a rather tough cold, not COVID, thankfully, but it did cause me to miss Marvel Alliance. I don't know, people that listen to the season finale of Rick and Morty, you wouldn't know because actually, unless you watch live, but I was clicking the mute button an awful lot and coughing up a storm. So I was running on fumes, and then the next day I could not do it. So I was a little bummed to miss Marvel Alliance, but I've turned the corner. I'm back. Had a great day in school today, so ready to lead us into this episode, Clay.
Sweet. But we do have some network plugs to deal with, of course. We are a part of the GUA. Um, the schedules being today, Monday, starting us off is World's Finest True Believers with Chris. Today he had his episode come out via him and Travis Snell talking about X23's Wolverine. Always a good run. Go check that out. Last week was Ranger Alliance. So Mondays do share a day with World's Finest True Believers and Ranger Alliance. Of course, we go live every Monday night. If you are listening to this via podcast, remember you can always go to YouTube, go to the Geekverse YouTube channel and press subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell to get every notification for when we go live. Then, of course, this drops on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we have superhero discussions where right now you are talking, or you just finished talking about Rick and Morty. Um,
Yes, and there will be an announcement on what is going to happen going forward. We're going to build towards the release of a season of another show, so
okay,
stay
well,
tuned
I
for
was
that.
just I was just about to ruin
That's why
that,
I
so
swung
I'm.
in there. That's why I swung in there and stuck it. I was like, "Hold that off, Clay. I want to tease that just a little bit."
So I'm not going to say what it is right now, but then of course there is Thursdays. Of course, Thursdays are shared with a walk through the multiverse with Joe. Recently, I think he's going to be doing the Walking Dead stuff. He kind of went through some of it. I'm not entirely sure what his next episode is, so be on the lookout for that. But also Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance. We just had an announcement that Star Wars Alliance does have its own feed, so go check that out if you just want to listen to Star Wars Alliance stuff. It's really nice that some of our bigger shows are getting their own feeds, because I understand there's some people that like everything, but some people do have their niche properties and do love to just listen about that stuff. I will say I will be joining Katie again on the 22nd to be reviewing all episodes of the Star Wars anime Visions. Every episode is going to be dropping. It sounds like uh, the episodes are different in length, so it probably will be a very early morning or a very late night for me to watch all of those before we go live on Wednesday night. Uh, Sorry, no, not Wednesday night. Well, what day is the 22nd? Is it a Wednesday or a Thursday? 22nd is a Wednesday, so we are going to be going live on Wednesday to drop the episode on a Thursday. Thursday nights is also Marvel Alliance, where they are going to be going live, of course. They have some interesting news and a really cool trailer. that just came out today to
Can
talk
they
about.
even walk anymore? Like they must be so full with how well they're eating, and like we're here getting news. You'll get a bit of a
I
little
laugh.
hint of. I have a list of characters that should have shows
Oh
over
my
what we're going
goodness.
to talk about.
Yeah,
So I
guys,
can't wait for
I will
this.
tell you this. I'm not going to be the one complaining and
No,
yelling
I'll like the
at the mic
show. I'll
today.
like the show, but I mean, come on, that Hawkeye trailer looked fantastic.
But
Like Chris said, Hawkeye.
I was laughing so hard. Brent shared in our GUA chat. I think it was yesterday. This meme of like this guy proposing, and it was Marvel to Marvel fans, and then it was DC to DC fans, and you saw the DC fan kind of like turn around and like she was like, "Oh my gosh," and the DC guy was kind of like all serious, like, "Oh no." And Brent was like, "Yeah, that's totally Clay." And I did a little meme, a little gif of saying, "It's Bear, it's Bear. I don't have a ring on my finger, DC. Come on now, come on." Chris says, "I am literally building the rundown for Marvel Alliance right now." That is great. I am very, very grateful for Marvel Alliance, for Marvel in general, because as not so much of what people think it means, but I will say Marvel, as far as content, is leading the charge. I'm not saying it's the gold standard, but I am saying it's leading the charge, is doing a very good job over there. So listen to my guys over at the Marvel Alliance podcast. Remember, Geekverse YouTube channel, press subscribe, make sure you hit the bell every single time we go live. Then, of course, there is Fridays when the show actually drops. And then we have Sundays, which is Katie's Slice of Film Days. I just recently listened to her and Sarah talk about. Oh my gosh, what was the episode I listened to? It was just the shoot, the gym one. It's the old cartoon. I can't. Travis, help me out here.
Earthworm Jim.
No, not Earthworm Jim.
Is it?
Uh, uh,
Is it?
Chris in the chat. I know you know it. I know you know it. I'm not. I am not looking at the GUA feed right now. Scrolling. Jim in the Holograms. That's what it was. The live action movie Jim in the Holograms, based off of the old cartoon, of course. I listened to the. I saw that trailer back in the day, and I was like, "Is this one of those shows, or is this one of those movies that like I could probably rent when it's like $2.99?" I was a Jim and the Holograms fan when I was a kid. They convinced me to try and watch it recently, so I'm probably gonna watch it within the next month or so.
I have
I've
no
put it
idea
on the list.
what that is.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
And you're older than me.
I
What's
know.
wrong
That's
with you?
crazy. Clay, we didn't exact. I had like 10 channels until I was like what 13 or 14.
You
I
say,
remember getting 16 channels. That was blowing my mind. So
you sound like my wife. She was like, I didn't have cable.
I
I
had
only watched
cable, but our cable
PBS for 10
sucked.
years.
Our cable sucked. We had like 13 channels. What? Oh, like we didn't have Fox until I got to like I think it was in like 8th grade. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
That is great. But of course, we also have a Patreon because, of course, this is a podcast network that does run off of ads. Now, if you don't want to listen to those ads, you can join our Patreon. $1 just to support us. $5, of course, keeps our Green Lanterns charged here at the GUA, and you can get exclusive content on that Patreon as well as early feeds of each show. So, with that being said, we do have ads in this episode. We will warn you when those ads come on because sometimes they can be loud, sometimes not so much. But we just like to give a fair warning so that way you're not like blaring your eardrum or anything. So, with that, that is all of the plugs. Where you want to go from here?
I guess we'll dive right into the most recent news that came out today, actually, which is the Batman spin-off series centered on the Penguin is in the works at HBO Max. And this is from Deadline, saying that essentially it's going to go to the DC universe is growing on HBO Max, and they're going to work on a series involving Batman's classic foe, Penguin. Deadline understands the project's in the early stage development and is being executive produced by the Batman duo Dylan Clark and Matt Reeves. So essentially, it's just another like his. It's described as a Scarface-like series about the rise of the Penguin character.
I have been getting a whole bunch of notifications from friends talking about this. I am seeing all over Twitter people saying, "Who asked for this? I didn't ask for this. Why are we getting this show?" And honestly, I think that because Reeves kind of has his own little corner to deal with, and WB and HBO Max trust in what Reeves is doing with the Batman, he's kind of being able to create his own Gotham and do whatever he wants in there, which means he's going to have a show surrounding the law enforcement in there and uh, the villains in all of that. So that is totally okay with me. Like, if I get more information, shout out to my wife. She just passed me a hot brew of coffee. I'm going to try not to burn my lips while I am talking here. So I'm going to set that right down. But I truly think that I'm okay with this. I am not bothered by this whatsoever. I think that Penguin having his own show just means that Penguin is going to be a bigger player later on. Now, does that kind of ruin things as far as the plot for Batman? A little bit, but I'm probably going to forget about it by the time I watch Batman. So I'm not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it, and I will enjoy the show. I'm pretty confident if I do enjoy the movie, and it makes sense. What frustrates me, though, Play, is like we're getting like we got the trailer for Hawkeye today, and all the Disney Plus shows that came out for Marvel, and the HBO Max shows we're hearing about are Peacemaker and the Gotham show and this show. And I just don't understand it. It blows my mind. I wrote down just a few characters. I mean, I would love to see a Firestorm series. The Question, Huntress, Steel, Hawk and Dove, Plastic Man, Vixen, Captain Atom, Doctor Fate, Static
You're
Shock.
getting Blue Beetle, Static Shock, which isn't necessarily confirmed. Black
Yeah,
Canary and Batgirl. So you're getting 4 heroes and 2 villains, and I don't see the problem.
I just think that just should be. I would rather have more, and I'd rather have there be
You're
some sort of
saying you
concrete
rather
plan. No, some sort of concrete plan. I don't know
okay,
which
see,
ones of these are
there's
going to
your
connect to the
problem right
movie,
there.
which one of these aren't. I'm so
That
confused.
that is your problem. You're thinking too much into a company that doesn't know its ass from its face. Like, I don't know why. Like, at this point, you just look at DC content. That's all I have to.
Well,
That's
if
all
you
I
tell
care.
me that this is Matt Reeves, no, not Matt Reeves has his own thing, and
Yeah,
it's not going to connect to anything, and I'll be like, okay, I'm pumped for his stuff. But give me some sort of idea as what happened with the others, what's going on with the other stuff, because you said we got a Static Shock show. Well, I think we do. Not 100% confirmed yet, and that's the stuff. The development hell that I've been through my years of DC fan just drives me crazy. I just want a bit more of a concrete. I'm confident in this, but let's not try and pretend that if Batman didn't come out and bomb, that this show probably would disappear to never see the light of day.
yeah. But again, the big thing that people have yet to like you. I'm not saying you in particular,
Yeah,
but I think DC fans overall are so blinded by DC and their content and their need for content that, like, it's the exact reason why we have like 30 something Batman comics every single month, because it's like, oh man, I hate Batman, why do you give me so much Batman? And then a Batman book is announced and they're like, holy fuck, this is what I've always wanted, this is amazing, oh my god. And then a week later they're like, man, why do we have so many Batman books? Like, these people don't know how to functionally criticize the company that they love and adore.
and we
Like,
can't
that
get
is the
we
problem.
can't get Batman show up on a TV show. Uh,
No, because
it,
they don't. We know
like
as well as everybody.
that's not going to affect. I don't think that's going to affect anybody going to the Batman in February. If
Oh
Batman
well,
showing up on Titan.
technically, we do have a Batman show coming up. It's called Bat Wheels. You know, I
But
am
yeah,
actually looking really forward to it. Like honestly,
I'm looking forward to this Penguin show. I'm excited. I just wish like there's so many, just such a catalog of DC characters that you could be telling stories about. Some with powers. It just frustrates me. I broke down and watched another episode of Legends today, and
I'm sorry.
yeah, basically that's what it was, Clay. It's like, do you hate powers? Do you not want to have anything to abilities? No. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I just where this is superhero stuff. I'd like to see some fantastical elements as well. I know it won't be with this show, but please give me some more of that as well.
And it's weird being the voice of reason on this episode. To be completely honest, my mind's kind of like all over the
We haven't
place right
gotten the
now.
Titans yet. We haven't gotten the Titans yet.
No, we haven't. Trust me, we haven't. But being the voice of reason here, you have to remember that although WB is stupid, and let me repeat that, although WB is stupid, they like green. They like money. Now, you can't fix stupid, but money makes people do anything. So, if we finally get this Green Lantern show, whenever it will be. Chris says, "Why do you torture yourself anymore, Travis? With Legends of Tomorrow, join me in leaving.
I think that was the final
Join
nail in the
me
coffin.
in
But
not starting the last 2 seasons."
I'm fairly far behind. Like I third episode of this season, I think is what it was. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm Chris. I followed you into the sun now with that.
So again, like I was saying, like if we get this Green Lantern show and it's amazing, right? If people love it, they're gonna move more towards the heroes.
Yes.
And this is just the way these properties work. If we say, "Oh my gosh, this Penguin show is amazing," they're going to go to Reeves and be like, "Hey, can we start a show about Penguin's left toe?" Like people love Penguin. So
Well,
can we start a show about penguins?
they'll probably
Please?
be like, can we
Because
explore
they go too
more
far. They always
villains?
go too far. So you're going to see more stupid before you see good plays. That's
But
just how it's going to go.
But I think with Reeves, I think this show is going to be solid, very very solid because this is him. Like they're not going to be able to now, like you said, if this show becomes successful, what we get after that, who knows?
They're
What
going
they're
to
putting.
ask Reeves to they're gonna try to squeeze Reeves into whatever he doesn't want to do. And that'll either mean Reeves leaves the Batman franchise or he leaves the Batman franchise.
He's not
Like
going to stay there forever anyway. He
no,
didn't
he's
stay.
not gonna stay there forever, but I do think that like we as fans, unfortunately, ask for too much. We do. That's just what we do. We love something so much and we just want good content. And I'm looking at this because recently, and Chris can definitely kind of back me up on this, in both Marvel and DC when it comes to comics, like people can love a series and it can go nowhere real quick. In movies, it'll do the exact same. Regardless of how many people love it, it's the money. Because people can love a comic book, but if you don't buy it, if money's not flowing,
Oh
if you're
yeah,
not showing support, then it's not going to do anything.
that's
And
just with every
here,
product.
it's going to be really hard to see how things are going to function because I'm honestly not looking at these shows as if like, oh my gosh, let's get excited about this, because we still have a like new frontier of executives and showrunners and top dogs with Discovery that's going to happen in a year. Like all of this can be thrown out the yeffing window.
Well, if something's successful, they wouldn't. You would think, especially new people coming in, so we know I put preconceived notions of what the old regime would do. But you would think if they had a successful show, like look what happened with Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol successful, brought over to HBO Max. Everyone, oh my god, Doom Patrol, wicked, wicked, wicked. So if they find something that's a hit, they do stick with it.
it's a hit, but for how many people? Like, I would honestly like to know how many subscribers they gained through, because HBO Max pushed the hell out of season 2. Like, that was one of their like biggest, like, hey, HBO Max is now a new thing with DC content. And Doom Patrol was like right there at the forefront. I would like to know how many people joined HBO Max for Doom Patrol, you
And
know?
how many people watched? It was a weekly thing, Clay. It dropped weekly, so you
Yeah.
can get the numbers of how many people watch weekly. I know it's just US only, but still, that's something at the very least, a uh, bit of tangible evidence there. But I guess we'll move on to the next topic, which is Peacemaker dropped a little picture, and I will share my screen, and we will look at uh, this shot, which doesn't give much to me, but
No, this is I don't know if you got this at all. They aren't eating, but I literally got in credit scenes of Avengers vibes with this. The what was it that they went to go eat after the attack on New York?
shawarma, I think.
Shawarma. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why I instantly got those kind of vibes from this.
Just think about it. I can get that, but on question on trivia on your left, I couldn't. Oh my god, it's so frustrating. I'll never not think about that stupid question. Brilliant. But yeah, we essentially have John Cena here. Is Vigilante next to him?
Yep, that's Vigilante. And then of course I don't know who the woman in the middle is, but of course we do know the two individuals that have worked under.
That Vigilante guy looks so much like he looks like a young version of maybe Bill Pullman.
I can see it. I
Oh,
didn't
or no,
realize.
actually, no, sorry, not Bill. Orm. Uh, oh my God, I can't. Patrick Wilson. He looks like a young version of Patrick Wilson there in this
Oh yeah,
picture.
yeah, yeah, I can kind of see that. I didn't realize the glasses until just now.
Yeah,
Like really
and
looking at them.
I can't remember the girl's name from Orange is the New Black, but she was a very main character. I'm interested to see what she brings here, and the two holdovers from the Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
and of course, John
But
Cena
the
himself.
tag or the caption to this is, this team may not look like much, but I'm a member of it, so absolutely elite. Very much Peacemaker.
Yeah,
Um,
excited to see that show actually, Clay, because uh, just standards with like this is coming from movie, like live action movie. So I'm assuming the fight scenes and that are going to be just as good for Peacemaker as what we saw in the Suicide Squad movie.
yeah. I would assume so. This is, of course, going to be working on a different budget, though, which I think we've gotten an overall uh, what was it, like 60 million was like the overhead number for large productions on HBO Max.
I'm
I
not
think.
sure, but you can totally tell. We'll talk about it in our episode review. You can tell the money difference from Titans to Stargirl.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
so
But I'm excited for this.
same.
Well, let me back it up. I am. I I feel like excited is throwing too much at it, because I don't know what to expect, to be completely honest. I still think this is a recruitment show. Of course, one thing that we can talk about, because it was semi news, was the fact that people were claiming that Bane was going to be a part of this show. James Gunn himself, and it's so funny because my co-host from Batman News Weekly was like, dude, do you even know whose website you're sharing? I was like, oh yeah, the people have told me this is like their second scoop. It's like it's kind of, freaking, they're just getting started. Everything's gonna be cool. This will be a really cool thing if it comes true. If it comes true. And I said, as long as James Gunn doesn't shoot it down, we're good. You know, we're absolutely in the green if James Gunn doesn't shoot it down.
And what happened?
Well, 2 hours later, Gunn is like, that would be really cool, but not gonna happen.
As Chris pointedly
The
said, the
scooper
scooper
got
got gone.
gunned. GUNN''D. That is brilliant. I'm going to use that from now on, Chris. But I say this. Could it still happen? Yes. Why? Because you don't want to get spoiled on a show that hasn't even started to air. Like that's another thing. Now, of course, you can always be like, "Oh, well, Black Canary herself confirmed that she has a show in the works and everything." Yeah, they're wanting to build hype about that. John Cena and Gunn already built hype around this show. There doesn't need to be any more hype. The extra hype is just us either, of course, speculating and everything else. All the excitement needs to come from what actually happens in the show. James Gunn knows this. And so he's not going to confirm anything that happens. Now, I will say this for all of you fucking morons out there that think Gunn needs a source on what his claims are, he's the fucking showrunner. He made the show, he wrote the show, and he directed the show. That's his source. I saw people freaking trying to defend the dumb girl on freaking YouTube. Not going to say her name because I don't want to die. Say her name too many times, she might crawl out of my screen. But people were trying to defend her, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know, Gunn. Like, I think you need to." She shared her source. She shared her source. You need to share yours.
Like I see it all the time. People come. I never saw one of those. I have the best people blocked. I don't even hesitate in blocking because I didn't see one of those. I think it's because that happened once before.
But see, here's the thing.
With Kathy Ann. Kathy Ann said, "This is not how it is," and Grace's followers were all like,
"Hey, don't say her name.
I'm the director."
That's one strike.
And I just blocked all those people. So I guess that's kind of why I avoided all that this time. I didn't see any of that.
Well, and like the thing is, so you have no you take no bullshit. So when you see something, you just block, right? Or mute or whatever. For me, I still get a laugh out of these things. So I still need to see it sometimes. If there's something too stupid, like the idiot people on 9/11, I won't repeat what was said or what they did. Yeah, exactly. That stuff was stupid, immediate block. But Chris was saying, sorry, I didn't read that. He said he also really has been quite truthful on what is and isn't in the Suicide Squad. I am willing to trust him for Peacemaker, which is absolutely true. I'm not saying that he is lying, but I am saying if there was ever a chance, because I will tell you this, he has talked about his interest in Bane because there was heavy rumors that Bane was going to be a cameo villain in the Suicide Squad. He turned those down. There was even Batista said that he came in to read for Bane.
That was way before Gunn was anywhere near DC. Yeah, he said way, but he said it was a while back. He said,
I thought it was like right before Gunn was attached to it, though.
No,
like somewhere within that range.
No,
anyway,
he just went in and said, "I want to be this kid." He didn't read a script or anything. He just went in.
Well, that's what I meant. Not read, but like he was interested in playing the character.
But they had they didn't know what they didn't have any plans for him or anything.
Okay,
like that. Yeah. It was more of a what's the guy?
A heavy coincidence that the fact that James
is it Tyrese wanting to be Green Lantern? It's kind of like
oh god, oh my god, people wanting freaking Megan Fox's poison Ivy. No, give me a better actress. Sorry, that was uncalled for.
Right, rant mode. We got to go on to the final topic of this evening, which is Chris already has his in the chat. I do not have mine because I went out to Best Buy and they were sold out. But Zack Snyder's Justice League hit physical media clay, Steelbook, Blu-ray, 4K. Best Buy told me that by the end of the month they should have some Steelbooks back in again. So fingers crossed. They only had a handful, and I live on a small island. I was thoroughly shocked when There was none there.
See,
So
I do not miss the hunt for video games, for movies, buying everything digital, regardless of if I really own it or not. If I can watch it at the times that I want to watch it, I'm good. Like honestly,
well,
like
for someone who
so.
doesn't have HBO Max,
No, because but you could technically go on to something like uh iTunes or uh freaking Google Movies or
I
whatever
could, but
and purchase it there.
it would make the Man of Steel and the BVS Blu-rays that I had there awful lonely, just sitting there by themselves. So,
My Man of Steel and Ultimate Edition of BVS are kind of lonely then. Poor guys. Oh well.
well, they're selling the. It was funny. I was looking at it. Just one other note is like it was 1 and 3 in Amazon sales, and the one was the Steelbook, and the
See,
three
I will
was a
say that
trilogy that was put
if
together.
if
With
you
when
give
you
me a
think
good
of
Amazon sale,
Well, when you
I'll
think of
jump on that.
WB too, you're getting to sell. They're selling the one movie alone for 40 something dollars as steelbook. They're also selling the three combined for 70 something on Amazon. So that's they're going to haul in a lot of money from this, in my opinion. But I can't wait to get mine. I've seen some people open theirs. Chris has his, and I'll be forever jealous until I end up getting mine. And Clay will not get one. He is against physical media from this point into the future.
I mean, it's so much easier. Like,
It is. It is. If
because
I had Clay, if I had HBO Max, I would be probably in your boat.
I stopped buying physical media. What is it? 2021. I stopped buying physical media. I want to say back in 2018, 2017, one of the two. And I will be completely honest. The main reason why was from 2014 to 2017. I would go at midnight to my local Walmart every single time a Disney movie came out because my grandmother wanted to buy every single Disney movie that ever existed. Like that is just one of her things. We used to own our family used to own a daycare. So like the kids would want to watch the new things all the time. Like every single time a movie came out, they'd be like, "Hey, we want to watch this." And so we always needed to buy new movies. So you know, when I moved, further away from my grandmother, I was like, sorry, I am not driving that far. I love you, grandma, but I'm not staying up until midnight and then driving all the way to your house to leave it on your front porch. Sorry. So
Oh,
from then on, I had my uncle buy her those movies, and I've been scot free ever since. You know, been
I'll do
easier for me.
that. But I like some physical media. I have both Spider-Man games physically. Sometimes I just enjoy a good piece of physical media. Other times I'm not against digital. Most of my comic reading these days is digitally. So
If there's a good if there is a legitimate good collector's edition on a game
like a steel
or
book kind of deal or a deluxe game
well,
kind of
like
deal.
I think the last physical movie I bought was the Death of Superman, the one that came with the
Yeah,
action figure.
yeah,
Like I always like those, like the ones that come with the action figures. I'll be like,
yeah.
fuck yeah, I'll buy that.
I think there was one with Soul of the Dragon.
No, I did not buy that one. I did buy that movie though, digitally.
Watch Travis
The
sit play
worst
off for
$20
five
I ever
minutes.
spent. But if like I'll be completely honest, they haven't done this in a while. If Marvel, if Marvel decides to be like, "Hey, we're going to make a collector's edition for this new Wolverine game with a Wolverine statue." Let's freaking go. I'm buying that collector's edition with the new PS5. I'll sell mine. It has to be a digital version though. You know, as Chris says, Clay, you could have returned it. I guess that is the offhand of being able to buy digital and physical. Physical, you can always return stuff for your money back. Digital, you just kind of waste your money. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay, Clay, we have to take our first ad break of this evening. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back to talk about some Stargirl in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Clay. Stargirl 205, Chapter 5, Summer School.
Okay, that's something that bothers me. Okay. So I have YouTube TV. That's how I stream these shows that aren't on any other streaming service. I'm looking at all 5 of these episodes for Stargirl. Episode 1, Summer School, Chapter 1. Episode 2, Summer School, Chapter 2. Episode 3, Summer School, Chapter 3. Is this going to be Summer School chapter all the way through 13? Because
I
that's kind of like
so.
at least shows like Titans has like titles for their like episodes, because you can be like, hey, what was that episode called when so and so did this? And you're like, oh, it's that episode. For freaking Stargirl, it's like, hey, what episode was that when that one person did this? Oh yeah, Summer School. Well, what?
I regret
Okay,
to inform you that the last episode, episode 13, is Summer School, Chapter 13.
are you serious?
Yeah,
You are not serious.
I am serious.
Where do you read? Oh, wait, hold on. I'm looking it up right now.
Stargirl Wikipedia.
Okay, because as of right now, I can only look up to episode 7 on YouTube TV, and it says Summer School Chapter 7. That is stupid. That's just, oh my god.
No, it was none of that in the first season. It was like Stargirl, Stripe, Icicle, Wildcat, Hourman.
Yeah, it had
Night.
names of different episodes. This is just like, hey, let's be super lazy, and let's just call this episode 1, 2, 3 through 13.
And now you can't get excited when they say the name of the name of the episode in the episode, because that'll never happen.
Well, no, not only that, but it's like, hey, get excited for chapter 14. Well, what's chapter 14 called? Chapter 14. That doesn't get me excited. Like-
Summer School, you forgot Summer School.
Oh, Summer School, chapter 14. Like that, I think that was probably the best. Like, again, this is probably just me being one of those people that like doesn't watch the show and then like gets mad about it, because there's plenty of people that do that. But in this sense, like, I used to watch the teasers at the end of the episodes back in the day, and they'd be like, and as a kid on the cartoons, they would like show you the episode title, and you're like, oh snap, that sounds amazing. This, you can't get excited about that. How are you supposed to build up hype? Granted, in this show, I don't think you necessarily need to be building up hype, because not really anything is happening too much, kind of.
I kind of enjoyed this episode.
I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy this episode.
A lot
I'm
more
just-
than the last couple is more for I wanted to say. Like I enjoyed this one more than the last couple, because we got a couple good relationships here, like building with Courtney and Jordan's son. I can't even remember his name now, which doesn't really speak well for his character if I'm blanking on his name. Icicle Jr.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. But we had a couple good interactions with them. And we finally got our first taste of Eclipso again, like the JSA feeling the effects of Eclipso, which was kind of cool to see as well. I thought that Brainwave was actually maybe in Wildcat's head, but instead it was Eclipso, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, for this episode, we do. I think we have probably the same nitpick. We talked about it before we went on air, but overall, this wasn't a horrible episode.
No,
You know,
but you are right. It does not move the plot forward a lot. Like, we don't know any more of what Eclipso's end game is, or even Shade's from the like. We don't get any more light shine on if Shade could be good or will he screw them over. Like, it still is up in the air as it was at the start of the episode.
yeah. I'm trying to remember the actor's name, not the actor, but the character name for the teacher, Dysinger, Paul Dysinger. Chris or anybody, honestly, I feel like his character is an actual character in the comics that he turns into. And I had it at the tip of my tongue when I was watching the episode, and then it completely lost. Like, there is a rogue of, I think, the Flash that has like the power of the rainbow, like different colors of
Rainbow
the
Rider.
rainbow.
Rainbow Rider. He was in an episode of Flash. He could essentially like control people with his emotions,
Okay,
like with their
so
eyes.
is that who this is supposed to be?
I don't think so. I don't know who this is supposed to be, Clay. I was going to write Chris for a completely different thing, which was to ask him, was what the teacher did inappropriate or not at the beginning of the episode? Because he was really overstepping his boundaries there in terms of like, you go after her, go after your muse.
Okay, so that is a little creepy. I
Yeah,
will
like
say that.
I honestly thought I was debating writing Chris and asking like, are any teachers like that, or are they more like,
So
cool writing, stop trying this girl without her permission, maybe.
well, okay, so here's the way I see it. Okay. I know personally there has been teachers that have like, hey, you have a passion, follow that passion. I'm going to like help you with that passion. But going and being like, hey, this looks like one of my students. Have you shown her this? Oh, you haven't? Maybe she can appreciate the fact that you can draw. Cool. But to be like, hey, go follow your muse, go after her, like that's creepy. I'm sorry, that is just really creepy. And the person that is in actual the freaking educational realm of things, Chris over here says, yeah, that's a very hard no. Yeah, no, it's creepy. It
So
was creepy.
my creepy instincts were right on the money there because I thought, dude, just teach the course and calm down about this guy's love life a little tiny bit here, like you know, slow your roll. But unfortunately for him, all it took was a bump from Sydney. It wasn't even like he didn't come into direct contact with the Black Diamond.
Okay, when there is a deep voice that goes, I am your muse. Oh, the fuck you are.
But you
Like,
can't do nothing then, Clay. At that point, you've already like he has control over you. Like you're screwed regardless. At that point,
I don't know. It was like,
we need to know more about his powers because, first of all, like even Pat comments at the end of the episode, but it was said that like you need to hold the diamond, you need to have the diamond. But now his powers are so
well,
powerful
I
that
think they made the comment. They actually made the comment, oh, the diamond's getting more, Eclipso's getting
yeah.
more powerful.
Well, he's like he doesn't he can affect people that isn't even holding or touching the diamond. So that's kind of a
Yeah.
and the secret. It really pisses me off because this is out in the CW and it doesn't nobody. The greatest thing there should be like a group chat with all the heroes saying, "Oh, number one thing, don't keep any secrets that somebody else could tell on you." Because it always blows up in your face and people will never trust you. Pat's going to come out of this not looking good. Pat and Courtney's mom. They're
Well,
both
like,
gonna because they got a secret about what Eclipso actually did to JSA.
exactly. And that is like, it's the, what is it called? Something, freaking, something irony. Help me out here. Dramatic irony. Sorry. Dramatic irony is something that can be played well, but when it's like obvious dramatic irony, it's just like painful to watch, you know? And that is why, like, I feel like Courtney's mom, Barbara, is the that is something that I have been asking for the last two episodes.
He's a stock in the end credit scene that we saw him at. When was that? The first episode?
3 episodes ago.
First or second episode? At the end of the episode, we saw him, and we haven't heard anything. And that's a frustrating thing.
And
Why even?
it was with Pat's ex-wife.
But now everything's on the table because Dr. Midnight was not killed. He was transported. So who knows if this could very well be the real Starman? We don't know. I don't
Exactly.
think so, but
we now technically have 3 JSA members that are not dead. Jay Garrick, because we know he's coming into this episode, or he's coming back. Now it could technically be like in a flashback, because wasn't he one of the ones that were like confirmed, quote unquote, confirmed dead from the first season?
Who?
Jay Garrick.
I'm not sure exactly, Clay. It's been
Because
a
like
little while.
in the first episode fight of season 1, you see the yellow lightning. You don't see who
Yeah.
it is, because of course they didn't want to cast anybody at that time. But you, like, it was assumed that everybody died in that mansion, in the JSA mansion or whatever. So we know that Jay is coming back. We know Midnighter is alive and Starman is alive. I think there's going to be an episode, and it's going to be super cheesy, but it screams CW and it screams something that either Brian Edward Hill or Johns would actually write. But there's going to be the old JSA versus the new JSA under the control of Eclipso. I'm calling it now.
Ooh, that would be pretty cool to see. I don't know. It could very well be something that could make every one of the JSA members see and have to fight. I think more. See Rick fighting Grundy again instead of that. But I do like where you're going. That's a possibility, especially what we see here when Eclipso just gets in their head for seconds, makes them see everything.
Hold on, hold the phone. What was all that about? Like, I understand it's the stone like starting to like get into everybody's head, but like there's a moment. Cameron is the guy that you're wanting to know.
Yeah,
Cameron is
Ice is
Ice Cold
alive.
Jr. But Rick is driving. He's listening to the radio. He has like a flashback of his mother's like leaving, and then of course you see Solomon Grundy kill his parents, and then he like stops right in front of the mural that Cameron is painting. He's like, can I help you? And Rick looks at him really long and he goes, can I help you with something? And Rick looks at him really long. He's like, from you? No. And like stares at him longer and then just drives off. Like, I need DC content to not be so cringy.
Yeah, that's
Like, is
it's
it
not even about cringy. That makes no sense. Like, what
is it that hard? Like, it can't be that hard. It honestly can't. Because I'm reading really good stories in DC. I'm reading really good stories in Marvel. I'm watching really good shows in Marvel, and I'm getting really shitty writing in DC. Like, something's not adding up, and I don't know why.
I can't disagree with you that hard there, Clay, because that did not make much sense to me either. It really didn't. I don't know why.
Like, again, I understand that they're trying to show you that like Eclipso is getting into everybody's head to then show you the big climax at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, to like see what everybody was like really hardcore focusing on, which is like Beth with the fact that her parents are getting a divorce, Yolanda with freaking
Killing Brainwave.
Brainwave, and then Rick with Solomon Grundy. Like, I understand that. And then I like the reason why I should never, as a fan, be able to guess the words that come out of each character's mouth after something happens. The moment Courtney had her in the rod going towards Mr. Dysinger when he was freaking Ivan Ooze, you know, morphing into the hallway or whatever, and he's like, I can't see anything, it's so dark. And she's like, you have to see the light. And like she brings
Do you see a light?
Yeah, do you see the light? Like, I shouldn't, like, I knew exactly what she was gonna do, and I knew exactly what she was gonna say. Like, I'm sorry, I understand that this is like a more family friendly kids show or whatever, you can have better writing than that. I promise. I promise, DC. HBO Max, CW. I promise you can have better writing. Just do it.
Figured we'd get here when we got to the TV shows. You're
I
not
really
wrong much.
like I didn't hate this episode. It's just the writing that just gets me just like, oh, like I understand that I should expect it. I should expect it by now.
I gotta say something I really loved just to try and boost us up a little bit, and which was the Pat and Mike interactions, especially Pat knowing that Mike is sad. Like that's kind of why the pin chose him. And when he says to Mike, like, "Let's work on a JSA project," the way Mike lights up, you get that from the last couple episodes. So
Okay,
it
so
was a good build there.
I do like that because I was telling even you when we were reviewing the first few episodes, this is how you build a villain. You don't keep him included. All you have to do is keep him included. This is the first step.
But you got to think too, Clay. If you're his son, if you're his father, it's a little different. Yeah, come on, son, come with me, build the robot, let's go out and fight, and then you die, and no, I'll never forgive myself again.
Yes, I understand that aspect, but I'm sorry, you have to be completely blind and deaf to not see and or hear the hypocrisy that whole family has towards freaking, I keep forgetting his name,
Mike.
Mike. I knew it's an
He
M
got no
word.
powers,
Jesus.
though, Clay. He has no power. Like Courtney has a staff. He has nothing to get him away if somebody comes to kill him.
It doesn't, I'm not saying, like, again, you just have to include him. I'm not saying, hey, kid, you know what? You don't have any powers. I need you to kill this person. Hey, I need you to capture this person all by yourself.
Well, that's how we got to here, which is a pretty good. Like I know you wanted it, like we've been asking for a few episodes, but the pin episode was a pretty cool introduction of the pin. But here we don't know what they're going to have him doing. You could still even get him going that way if you give him like menial tasks and just try and keep him busy, and he figures it out and goes over with Sydney. So it's still you can still get the supervillain thing. I got to see what they're going to make him do, but I just love how happy he was that he could be part of the team.
I mean, part of the team, yes. Like, I still think that Pat will have like those moments of like, hey, you're going to help me with the JSA project. Hand me the wrench. Hand me the hammer. Hand me the screwdriver. Okay, you're helping, aren't you? This is great. Like, I still feel like that will be a big point of it. And he still won't let him really do anything. Because, I mean, as much as it seems kind of quote unquote obvious that he won't join Cindy, I think that he will. I think there's going to be a big twist and again, it's almost not as much, but in the light of like bad writing with Titans, you know, how like usually the troubled kids usually hear only what they want to hear.
He's not going anywhere, I don't think he's going to the dark side.
Well, I do think there's going to be, I think Eclipso will persuade him to be
he's going to be
a
the
villain
one that defeats Eclipso.
Nah.
You heard it here, folks. So
if that happens, this is the last season we're talking about.
So that's mine and Clay's thoughts on the episode. The other thing was Icicle Jr. started to get his powers. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Oh yeah, the little
one
teaser.
Other thing. Sydney is killing his grandparents. Sydney is 100% going to kill his grandparents.
I could see that. We saw one of them, his grandmother, use or show that she also has powers.
Yeah.
Which we had not seen before.
No. So that was a pretty cool point as well.
That's interesting. So I don't know. Do you think that we will see an Icicle Jr. be a good guy?
I think so. I think he's going to realize what his father did, because he said a couple times, I didn't know how much my father helped people. So when he figures out what his father actually is, I think he's going to, after some struggles, be on the right path and try to fix things.
That'll be interesting. I like to see how it plays out.
Same. So, listeners, before we'll take another quick ad break before we get into Titans. Like I said before, we don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Clay. Titans 3, episode 7.
Let me just tell you, I got really excited.
51%.
I got really excited at like the 5-minute mark. Like within the first 5 minutes of this episode, I got really excited.
Oh.
Do you know why? Because I really thought Scarecrow was going to kill Jason, and he didn't. Like, I got really excited at the thought of Jason dying, and then later on in the episode, when I saw that he was alive, I got really pissed. Like, I really wanted Scarecrow to kill Jason. Like, I was like, holy crap, this is happening. Everything that I ever wanted from the show is happening. And then Jason lived, and
Jason's
I was just like, oh.
going to kill Scarecrow, I think. I think Jason's going to kill Scarecrow and try to take over. I don't think it's going to work out too well for him, but I did think that for a second, Clay. I did think your thought for a second, but I'm like, there's no way.
I was so happy. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. Yes, we may actually get a good Titan season. And then no.
Well, I gotta say, this episode was a lot better than the past couple, in my opinion. We got a lot of stuff with the team as a whole. Now, this goes back to some of your talk, even with Stargirl, about bad writing or not as good writing in terms of moving the plot along, because you don't move much of the plot along here. But we get a lot of cool moments and cool scenes. So I don't know what that amounts to, Clay. For me,
I still call this bad writing. And there's and
well,
John, before you call me out again, I'm gonna say this isn't nitpicking. I'm gonna say this is bad writing, and I will get there when we get there. But for one, because I have it playing in the background right now, I am tired of calling this guy Scarecrow. He doesn't have his mask.
They call him Crane just as much as they call him Scarecrow.
Either or.
Yeah.
I refuse to call this person Scarecrow because he doesn't act like Scarecrow. He is really trying to push this Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor vibe. And I don't get it. Like, he's trying to be like, he is like, the way he acts in this show is like, he tries to be a Lex Luthor and he tries to be a Falcone at the same time. Like, he's a supervillain. He is a Batman supervillain, and he needs to act like a Batman supervillain.
I don't get Lex Luthor for him at all. Like this,
he tries to be the methodical one towards Jason, but then he tries to be the mobster Falcone towards the other mobsters. And it's just like, these people should fear him for being Scarecrow, not for being Crane.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Clay, because most of the time when we're watching Scarecrow in any other medium, you see him 99.95% of the time with the Scarecrow stuff on, because that's how he intimidates and uses fear. Dang, even in the movies, after the first movie, we never saw him again without him wearing a mask. I know they take him off him when they catch him in the Dark Knight, but even then, the whole time he has a mask on. Like, his mask is a big part of that. And we haven't seen him wear that ever. I don't think we've ever seen him wear it.
We saw the mask in the Batcave. Yeah. But if you want to keep a persona, if you want to keep this namesake, you make yourself a new mask. Like, I'm telling you right now, every supervillain in all of DC and all of Marvel has more than one costume, has more than one mask.
You got to.
Exactly. So why aren't we seeing Crane in a Scarecrow mask?
I don't know. Is it the same reason we're not seeing Batman in a bat suit ever in this show? Like, maybe we might see him in the Batman, and while they preach the multiverse, that it doesn't necessarily mean that if something's coming up.
But I don't care about the multiverse. When you're creating this show, when you're showing me this show, I should be seeing the character on screen. regardless of whatever freaking multiverse you want to preach. If you say, hey, this is Scarecrow, and you show and tease, hey, this is what Scarecrow looks like you're not giving me Scarecrow. You're just giving me a rugged dude that thinks he can be a mobster and sell drugs. Cool. Then he's not Scarecrow.
Yeah, we're not getting the like traditional Scarecrow, especially through the animated series, and it shows here. But one thing we are getting a lot of here, which I am enjoying a lot of, is Blackfire and Starfire teaming up, and just their overall dynamic. I know you say maybe that's because I haven't read many comics with Blackfire, so I know you're saying like you can't trust anything she ever says ever, kind of deal. But maybe they're taking a different like take on the character.
I think that they might. But the one thing that tells me otherwise is the one thing that I don't like about this episode. Now, of course, I just complained a whole lot about Crane, but I can sidestep the Crane because I can just say, hey, he's no longer Scarecrow. He's just Crane. Like, I can tell my mind that until he wears the mask. What I don't like is the fact that Starfire killed somebody. She killed somebody in this episode. And I don't like it because here she is for the past 3 episodes preaching to her sister not to be like she was on their home planet and not to be this murderous psycho bitch individual. And Starfire just is like, you know what? This one person made me break a promise, so I'm going to kill them. Like it doesn't do anything for the show. Other than show Blackfire that, oh, I can kill people and she won't be mad because she killed somebody herself. And then they're going to be hypocrites again. And like, again, I shouldn't be able to move the narrative of the show in my head like it is now. Like, because I know for a fact that will most likely happen.
I didn't have that much of a problem with that. The my boss who shot her son in the head.
Oh, I completely called that too. Like as soon as he like started to walk up to her, I just did like I was watching it with Abby and I did a motion of like with my hand like a gun, and then right when I did it, boom, blew his brains out.
Yeah, so like I said, that was okay. I enjoyed the scenes with both of them. I enjoyed the flirting with Superboy and Blackfire as well. He doesn't really understand what it is, but that is amusing to me. I'm trying to think the other things that I enjoyed because it wasn't a big load. Gar using his senses to smell, but even that frustrates me because why not turn into another animal that has the best sense of smell and use that one to track? Even turn into a dash hound or something. Like that's an easy thing. You have Crypto running around, you can't turn him into a dash hound. So every time he uses different, like when he's trying to combine his Animorph tiger style to his body,
Yeah,
it gets more
like
frustrating to me. But just turn into a different animal.
yeah, like again, this show can be so much more. It genuinely can. And you can't tell me, oh, we ran out of budget for this episode because nothing happens in this episode. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, they all use their powers a little bit at the end of the episode. But honestly, there is enough technology to put a dog on screen and then with visual effects make him green. Like it cannot be that hard.
Well, you got to make transfer. Like what I think though is if they can't do this with him, then I shouldn't hold out hope to see Clayface anytime soon.
And that's
you got to show the transformation as well. Like you got to be kind of seamless.
Don't get me wrong. Like it would be annoying if we didn't actually see the transformation. It would be annoying. But at this point, they're not even trying. Like, and that is the problem. Like, you're telling me, hey, $60 million goes into like the productions on HBO Max, and like you're throwing 60 million at like fucking dirt. Like, you're not trying at all. You're just like, we can get a couple people. We can say that they, run fast. And we'll use the same gimmick of explosives every single time because the whole heart bomb thing, Third time.
Yeah, he's
And
no, no.
conveniently, Superboy is always there. Like, I'm already getting tired of it. The
Dude,
first one with freaking Hank, with freaking Hawk, that had emotion to it, understandable. Second time, you're like, okay, Superboy, you're not gonna mess up again. Cool. He saves her. Third time, like, I don't want to keep seeing this heart bomb.
well, he
This
changed it, Clay. He modified it so Superboy couldn't fix it and died. So we got a
okay,
Superboy there, literally in the flames, watching his
but
failure right at his hands.
that doesn't like it doesn't make me go like, oh no, he changed it. Do you know why? Because the person dies. Like it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change me emotionally. It doesn't do anything. It
Well,
doesn't do anything for me in the show.
okay, well,
So
that's just your personal taste, I guess, because I found it just for Superboy part of it, he went from failing to succeeding back to failing pretty quickly. Like he's learning all these things for the first time, so that stuff's interesting to me.
it is, but it's the same gimmick. Like
Yeah, no, well, he modified it so that he can't fix it. So he changed the gimmick, kind of. Yeah. Or you invent a
it's
new gimmick. What's the gimmick that you're gonna get? That you gotta have a gimmick that Superboy can't put his arms around or take it. Like it's hard to when you find a gimmick that works. It's hard mid-season to switch up to a new gimmick that you got to make sure is power proof for Superboy. That's the other thing, Clay. You got to make sure that these things, like, you know, can't be like blow wind and destroy the bomb. Like you got to make sure that there are some stakes there. So I can understand it. I also understand your annoyance of it because we keep seeing it over and over again. I think that they thought we throw the line of it's been modified and that would be okay, but clearly
like at this point you're
for
just
some
like,
people
oh,
it's
another
not.
heart bomb. We'll just wait until he dies and then we'll wait for something else, I guess. Like it's just annoying at this point. And this is where we get to the point where I was annoyed because I genuinely think that you wrote it in just to destroy it. And that is Oracle. It's you're making you're trying to make it this badass point, but we literally didn't even need it. Like this whole thing of like, oh, we're gonna use Oracle to find Scarecrow, right? And they use it, and then that makes Barbara and Dick bump heads again because they're like, oh, well, we can't find him on any public network. Do you want me to search private networks? They say yes and no, and she's like, yeah, whatever. So they find this private conversation, which was eventually a trap because you find out the picture that freaking Lady Vic took in the last episode, Crane used to hack Oracle. And I'm just like, okay, the number one supercomputer in all of comics is hacked by a face scan by Crane. Like
We don't know if like they could have entailed more than just a face scan. That could have been just the first way to access it. We don't like that stuff that need to be explained better for you and for most people. So that would fall under the better writing. Needs to be better writing because they can explain that pretty quickly in a 1 minute monologue from Crane if he's not talking about nonsense. You could explain that pretty quickly, but they don't. So I can't go to bat for them on this, but they didn't explain it. I didn't have a
that's
problem.
bad writing, though.
I didn't have a problem with it personally, but that's
I don't
just
know.
me.
It's just it's things like that like what was the whole point of Oracle to because his whole point
The whole
when
point of
he
Oracle was to
when you
show
see
that
it.
Crane was one step ahead of him, and he actually was showing Jason that you don't even need to do anything. You instead of rushing in and doing what he did, like throw the drugs in and getting everything going chaos, you can sit back and watch people destroy themselves. Like what he thought was going to happen here.
But you know as well as I do, this show is going to be rushed anyway, and it's not going to have a great ending. Like if you put proper time into the show, it could be something great. It could be something fun. This is not great and it's not fun.
I had fun
Like
this week. I gotta say. Not
I
super
mean,
fun, but like there was a lot of fun moments. The Blackfire getting her costume, that was that was perfect for me. I really love that.
she wore a costume. I don't see how it
No, just
was
the
like
technology of the
fun.
play. My God, she puts on these gauntlets and the whole costume comes around her in fantastic CGI. But we got the paint monster of the last one. That's exactly what I want to talk about. Just the difference in quality of CGI. That costume change. I
By the
show
way,
me
this is
show me
still
something
technically
better.
funded
Show me
by
something
the
better than
productions of HBO Max.
show me somebody transforming into a costume or putting a suit on that that looks just as good as anything we get, and it's completely like hologram style from her planet. I thought it was really cool, to be honest with you, and then she walked right out like a badass, and both of them were total badasses the entire time they were fighting. So that was really
It's
cool to me.
hard to me to it's hard for me to focus on just that one thing due to the fact that I know we could have seen better things that we as fans probably have wanted to see more than just Blackfire changing into her costume, such as, like we've already said, Beast Boy changing into another animal. Like he used a tiger nose to find a weed stash. Like not necessarily something that you would use every day. Like I wouldn't use a tiger to find a weed stash. Like you said, a
It
hound
wouldn't it
or
wouldn't
a
weed though.
dog. Huh?
It wouldn't weed.
Oh, I thought it was. It
No, it's
might
just a
have been.
note from that
Well,
girl
well,
in
he
some
said he said
momentum.
it, but it was with a drug stash. It was with a weed stash.
You sure?
Yeah, because he even said like, "Oh, you have a second stash just in case somebody finds your first."
No, well,
And with that
he's
stash,
just thinking about him, but it's not a stash. It's just
I am
because he
pretty
calls
sure.
him direct too. Because he hauls it out. Maybe could have it there, but I didn't see anything or hear anything marijuana related for make me think that.
Well,
But
I don't think he necessarily said weed like per
I
se.
think he was just trying to get in his head. That's all.
Well, yeah, because like the whole point was like you saw him kind of like act like
Yeah.
Jason. And he's like, "Get out of my room, narc," and like all of this other stuff. Again, like that is Gar's character, so I'm okay with that. But like there's just so much more in this show.
Bitter dialogue that could be in there.
Even that, like, because even if you look at the Earth One Gar that we're gonna be talking about after this, like that is still Gar's character, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that didn't bother me too much compared to everything else that was in this episode. I feel like they don't necessarily invest in the things that they should, rather than like, yes, you can say, "Oh, there was this cool moment or this cool moment." There could be better moments than even that in this show, but they refuse to do it. And I just don't know why. Like you have at least two different comic book creators, Brian Edward Hill and Jeff Johns specifically, that are somewhat attached to this show. And because Brian Edward Hill writes, Jeff Johns produces, and somehow they're not like, how can two comic book creators be attached to the show and not once have we had the moments that we're all wanting? Like that's my problem. Because I thought, like, when we got the news of New Gods having Tom King, like, okay, we're going in the right direction. We're probably going to see some really cool things via the New Gods. Of course, that movie isn't coming out anymore, but like, I always thought if you attach comic book creators to these TV shows and movies, that we would get more comic booky things in these properties, in these shows and movies. And that's not necessarily the case, which is not giving me much hope for anything else.
Yeah, I can't argue with some of the points you're making, Clay, especially about the writing. Uh I don't understand the everyone like fighting over this season because I think it's just been very average, but who knows, hopefully the next episode home will be better for you. I think we're past the point of the midway point, so fingers crossed for you for that.
Yeah, it's
I think it's 13 episodes. So
13 episodes. Next episode will be episode 8.
8.
Do I know exactly where they're going with episode 8? No, because this ended kind of like
Home makes me think of Donna going back to Themyscira. So of course, with everything so confusing and not knowing what's going on, they're going to take an episode to just completely go out of the main plot.
I mean, if it gives me less Jason, I'll be fine with it, I guess. But
Maybe we'll
but
get
like,
to see him. Maybe we'll get to see her showing up. Remember when he came back from the Lazarus pit, or when you saw her for some random unknown reason, even though they probably barely ever spoke.
and so my co-host for Batman News Weekly had a really awesome suggestion, which would actually make this show even better, and probably have me complaining less about Jason. Don't you think it would have been even more sadistic of Crane and move the plot better? Every single time Jason went out of line, he killed Jason and resurrected him in the pit.
Oh my god, that would actually be a lot better. And messing up
And
each
and
time,
it
you get a
would
little
it
more.
would
Yeah,
it would mess up Jason's mind even more.
I like that actually. I like that idea a lot.
Again, me, your regular Joe Schmo, should not be able to think of better ways to make these kinds of shows better. I'm sorry.
You are not wrong, Clay. You're not. But I guess with that, on that note, we will end our Titans review for this evening and hope that next week for both episodes, both shows, are a lot better. We're not getting, like I say, I watched the Hawkeye trailer and just bummed me out the difference of TV for DC and Marvel these days. There was a time back in 2012, 2013, 2014 where there was, DC was up pretty high. So fingers crossed, things like the new Penguin show and the Peacemaker show can be a little bit more of a step up from what we're getting right now. But we hold out a hope that it may turn around. We're not crossing our fingers or betting any amounts of money on that, but who knows? We'll take our final ad break of this evening, do the last Comics Corner, and in this evening off. So, listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. Going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back shortly in 3, 2, 1. And we're back.
All right. Before we move on to this Comics Corner, though, we do want to make an announcement. We said that we're going to be doing a drawing today. We're actually not going to be moving. We're not going to be doing that contest immediately. I'm sorry, John. And I am sorry. I'm forgetting a name. I have it here in my phone. I have the screenshots here. Hold on. Charlie. Yes. Charlie and John, we are going to continue this contest because we don't think it's necessarily fair to just have you two fight over this contest. And Charlie, you won the last one. So if the random generator has you win again, I necessarily don't think it's fair. So we are going to go ahead and have this contest at the end of Titans. We're actually going to name the winner when Chris and Brent join us for the season finale of this show, Titans. And of course, again, for anybody who is listening, that gives you even more time. Remember, tweet at us. The tweet is, let me look it up again because I have it right here in front of me.
You can also, just FYI, the live show for the finale, if you're in there in the chat, you will get your name in the contest as well.
Yes, if you join us live on the season finale review, you will be entered into the contest as well as these two. But you can also join by tweeting at me and Travis at our respective handles, as well as the DC Alliance handle with the hashtag Teen Titans Earth 1, and you will be entered to win both volumes of Earth 1 Teen Titans, Volume 1 and 2. Now, let's go ahead and move on to this review. I don't have the book with me in front of me, but I do remember a majority of it. Now, this, of course, If I remember, this is only a couple weeks after the ending of the last book of volume 1. Are you opening that right now?
Correct. I have multiple copies.
Oh my goodness.
One that I
so
read is up my room.
so uh in volume 2, of course, we have newer characters. The new character being Tempest. Beast Boy has kind of befriended Tempest fairly easily. There's a little bit of a joke that Tempest isn't really used to like normal human life, so he doesn't necessarily know how to act or eat. He's basically a baby, to be completely honest, with the way he
eats
acts.
a whole load of marshmallows and
He
throws
eats
them
all
up.
of the marshmallows and he throws up. Yeah. But we also see that Victor is actually kind of comatose at this moment. He can't really function a whole lot. This synthetic metal is actually consuming his entire body, not just parts of it, which is a really interesting change to the character of Cyborg. Uh, but of course, Tara, his girlfriend, is very worried for him. She doesn't know necessarily what to do. She is actually scavenging and breaking into stores to get them food and whatnot at the beginning of this. But we have new characters overall. We have a new villain that is fairly familiar to
If you
us at
watch
the
the Doom
GUA.
Patrol.
And if you watch Doom Patrol, Niles Calder is the villain in this book.
Yeah, we get a couple pretty cool pages of Jericho taking control of Slade and going to Niles Calder. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we also get a glimpse at what Starfire is doing with Raven. In volume 1, we saw Starfire kind of just leave the rest of the group to fend for themselves. We weren't necessarily sure where she went until the very ending of that volume 1. She was in the cave with Raven. Now she is able to speak a lot better, still working on her English. It seems that for these past few weeks, she has been living with Raven and her grandfather. And they do feel the need to possibly help the others. There's just something in Raven that is telling them, hey, we need to go help. So Niles Calder seems to be the brains of the entire situation at Star Labs. Like he is the one that made Dr. Stone and all of those other scientists do what they did with Starfire and the children. The Doom Patrol was named. We did get a shout out from the Doom Patrol, but we didn't see them. And Robot Man isn't even a person.
No.
It is a protocol that helps Niles Calder walk.
Oof. Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting. But essentially, he has his own Titans team that consists of Flash, Wally West, Wonder Girl. I can't remember her name. I can't remember who that Wonder Girl was. And then there is also another girl. I think her name is Cole with a K.
Yeah, you're right.
And I honestly don't know who that character is. Like I thought about doing some research, but I can't necessarily remember. If any listeners are out there would like to inform me of who this character is, let me know. But she does have ice powers. So I don't know if this is like Icicle or what, like a female version of Icicle or whatnot. But they have always lived in like this underground Star Labs thing that Niles Calder basically controls.
Yeah.
They subdue the Titans that we know, Beast Boy,
fairly easily.
Fairly easily, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Beast Boy kind of like he tries to transform and do stuff, doesn't really do anything. Tempest actually shows a little bit of his powers, and Beast Boy's like, "Are you freaking kidding me? You could have done that the entire time." I will say there isn't a whole lot of showing of powers. Like, I think that's the one thing I'm missing from this book is yes, you get stuff from Flash and you get stuff from, you know, Wonder Girl and Cole and all of that, but I feel like from our heroes, you don't necessarily get a whole lot.
What do you mean?
Like Tara, you kind of saw a little bit of her like moving the ground whenever the police officers were after her. I think there was one other moment. Like it's very situational with the powers, and you never really saw them go all out or
Well, they
like
I don't they haven't had any training, so they don't really know. That's another thing. Whereas
yeah,
You see the Titans come after them. They all are really good with their powers because they've had practice and training
yeah,
with them.
and I think unfortunately, I don't think the Titans book did very well in the sense of the other Earth One stories like Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern. Um, I don't think this one sold very well, so I honestly don't think we're ever going to be getting a volume 3, unfortunately. But it is something that I kind of wanted, you know.
Yeah,
The reason being, there's still technically a few characters that are missing
I want to see
in
the Doom Patrol come after these guys too.
yeah, the Doom Patrol, and then in the cave there was the inclusion of the Bats, which we
Yeah,
all assumed was going to be either
Nightwing.
Tim Drake or possibly Nightwing. Uh, I would genuinely like to see what comes in after this.
I
I
will give
do
them.
think
I want to
I
give them a bit of credit too, Clay. Niles Calder,
uh,
bravo! You couldn't have made him look creepier. Like it was very well done. Very
yeah,
well
and
done.
I really do like this. Like, so in the show Doom Patrol, he kind of has like he has like the father figure syndrome,
Yeah.
right? Of like I am your father and this is what I say. In this book, you see it a little bit in the show, but this like really hammers it down.
Oh, it's really weird and
You know,
creepy. Yeah.
like because when he confronts Wally and Wonder Girl and Cole, and they're like, "Hey, Daddy, what's up? Hey, aren't you proud of us?" He's like, "Get inside!" And it's like, "Holy shit!"
I love
Okay.
how the Titans that we got in the book one are like you're all weird as hell. Like you guys are like, what's wrong with you sick
Yeah,
freaks?
and like the big thing, of course, is these kids were never raised properly, as far as Wally and Wonder Girl and all them, and so it's like this whole thing of like you guys are like trying to or like it's I'm trying to like
Well, they're like,
what is the
Daddy said you would say that, and I'm like, okay,
well, yeah,
guys, like
it's
you're
that, but like it's the very stereotypical like conspiracy theorist theory of like, yeah, you work for the man, and we're gonna be taking down the government because the government's trying to put worms in our brains, and
But
like
then when
if the
you realize
conversation went any
that
further, I'm sure that's where it was gonna go.
But then you realize that they very well could believe that because they've probably never ever been to school, and this is their training facility, living facility. So they might not know anything other than what Niles tells them. So maybe they believe that,
Yeah,
which would be pretty crazy when you think about it. Uh,
but we
I
keep hearing so one thing I want to bring up is we keep hearing the phrase Blackfire, and we're like, okay, we know who Blackfire is. Is there an actual Blackfire in this book? And there is, but it takes a weird turn.
yeah,
So instead of being Starfire's sister, Blackfire is Starfire's clone.
yes, and
It's
it's
it's a
something.
sight for sore eyes.
It's
Let's just say
something.
that. She is much larger, has a little bit of a hunch. It's very much like a uh, Frankenstein's monster type
Yeah.
feeling. Is what you're supposed to feel here. And Starfire straight up says, "Oh my God, you're an uglier me." And freaking Blackfire is like, "Oh hell no!" Boom, and like a huge fight
I want to play
ensues.
with pretty me. I want to make pretty me ugly. So it's all that kind of stuff here. I'm like, okay. And I
And
love that. I love that Wally them while this is going on. Like Wally them, the light comes over their eyes. Like the wool, like the
oh yeah, because Raven ends up getting to them
Yes.
and kind of shows them like, hey, you need to see the truth. And Wally like runs to this part of the facility. And I didn't realize this the first time I read it, but the second time I read it, I realized they were like, oh, this is us, meaning like, oh, we are like, I thought they were saying, oh, we're just freaking experiments. But if you look closely at the image, if you look closely, they are clones, and inside those tubes are themselves. You see another Wally and you see another Wonder Girl. Like,
Yeah, they say like the ones that didn't work is what they say. So like there could be some
so
minor variation that makes them not work, and this is the
so somewhere out there is an original Wally and an original Wonder Girl and all of that. So like there's something there, you know,
well, who
and
knows if they're not these guys aren't the originals. You don't really know. You wouldn't think first you look for a big
exactly. And
twist, but
that's
you
what
don't
and that's what
know.
I'm getting at, because you have something like a very recent Young Justice where, you know, they had dealt a lot with clones. That's the whole thing with Arsenal and Red Arrow and
Yeah.
all of that, you know. So putting that in here, there's kind of precedent for it. So I thought that was really, really interesting. But it ends up basically Jericho leaves the like prison that Raven had put him in, the mine prison that Raven had put him in. He goes inside of Blackfire, and when he is getting like overwhelmed by the Titans, he goes, he runs, he grabs Calder, and then he leaves, and we never see them again.
Yeah.
And that's when Raven is like, hey, we need to go. People are gathering, because by the end of the fight, they're out in the open. They're out in the middle of the day. This is the middle of the city. People are starting to gather. There's a news crew, and they just vanish because Raven teleports them. We're getting to the near end of the book. One of the big things that happened in this was that Cyborg is no longer a cyborg, but still is a cyborg, but now controls a giant robot.
And you gotta be around the robot at all times.
It's very, very weird, almost like a Stripe like situation. Like he's a robot.
But your life depended on it.
Yeah, like it's very, very odd. So that happened, but all the Titans are basically free to do whatever. And this also kind of tells me that they're not going to make any more of these, because it ends on a very like, hey, you know, I haven't had any nightmares. This is Raven talking. She's like, I haven't had any nightmares. All I've had are dreams, really good ones, and all of you are in it. And that is it. I will say this. I kind of miss the old artwork. I feel like the artwork from the first one, although I felt it was really weird and not usually Terry Dotson's best, I feel like that was a little bit better than what we got here. But I still enjoyed this probably a little bit more than last volume, to be completely
I
honest.
enjoyed the story more, but I will agree with you. I enjoyed the art more in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It was a solid story, Clay. Really, really excited to give this one away to the listeners. I wish we could get more, like you said. I there's some interesting parts here in the story that I would love to see more of, especially the whole cyborg basically having a. I can't remember that movie now. You know, the one where Hugh Jackman was those Rock'em Sock'em robots.
oh, Real Steel.
Yeah, it's essentially he has his own Real Steel robot there
Yeah.
that he can
Yeah.
fight with. So it's kind of an interesting take on Cyborg that he can like take the metal from his own body and put it into that gigantic robot thing and then get it back into you again. But you got to be right. Very interesting little take on Cyborg that I didn't expect to see.
Now, I did ask you earlier today if you could download a certain app, and I
Yeah.
would like to announce it here so that way everybody can follow along when we actually start to review this. Just recently, DC has teamed up with a app called Webtoons. Webtoons is a very, very, very large app with a very large capacity of users. They have been changing the game when it comes to the way you draw and write comics, the way comics function. But DC has made their first content over at Webtoons. It is a book called Batman, The Wayne Family Adventures. The first 3 episodes, because they call them episodes there, are up to read. We will be reviewing one a week. They have 6 in total, but the other ones become free as the weeks go by. You don't have to purchase them. We will review them weekly because it's not necessarily your traditional Batman story. I think it's very fun. I think it's something that the entire family can enjoy. So if you have young ones, you can read along with them. Webtoons has gone really big with the younger generations. So for sure, check this out. I wanted to do this because right now we don't really have anything lined up for comics. And as far as shows go, we are doing Doom Patrol when that comes out. We are going to be doing, what is the next big thing? I think after that, I'm sure we're going to get more news
DC
at Fandom for other stuff. But as far as like movies go, the next big one is Batman, and that's not until March. Yeah. So we will do this for a little bit until we feel like, hey, let's do something else. We will probably, if we find something a little bit more up our alley, because I will say Doom Patrol can get kind of wacky when it comes to comics. So maybe after the first 6 issues of this Wayne Family Adventures, we can probably put a poll up and get something on the DC Universe app or whatever. But the reason why I want to do Webtoons is because Webtoons is completely free. You don't have to pay for it, just like a DC Universe. So we can have more people kind of engage and ask us questions and things like that. Oh, wow. So with that, Travis, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. I also host superhero discussions. Like I said earlier, going to be an announcement on what we are going to be covering going forward. And there's going to be an review of the Injustice animated trailer.
All right. And of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. If you go into the little link tree on my bio there, you can find the links to all the shows that I host, that including this show, of course, DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion podcast, Weird Science Marvel podcast, Weird Science DC podcast, Weird Science Manga podcast, as well as the Ranger Alliance. And I will say next week, not in 2 weeks, next week now on Wednesday, I will be live with Katie to review the Star Wars Visions anime. We are going to be live on YouTube for that. So remember to please subscribe to the Geekverse YouTube channel. And with that, guys, that is the episode. Thank you so much for sticking around this long, and we will see you next week.
Later, everyone.